Corey. Yeah, I know. We have to think twice hard about what
I
day it is
know, I know.
because
This is
we're
hard.
we're all coming off the holiday week. We don't even know, what's coming and going. It's the first full week we got back, from the holidays. So everybody's just, I think, easing into the markets. You can see it. The markets are like, one step forward, two steps backwards. Nobody's really,
Right,
really
exactly,
convinced.
exactly.
Um,
How I know you were away last week. How was your week?
it was great. I mean, we actually, we didn't go anywhere. We just hung here with, I did a July 4th grill. So that was fun.
Nice.
Our friends of ours had a birthday party. We did a birthday party for a friend of my wife's. So it was all good.
Awesome.
It was the quintessential suburban July 4th,
Awesome.
no,
Very. Anything to note or notable in trading last week?
last week was so, one of the things that's I think is interesting. We talk about this all the time, how unfruitful it is sometimes to trade holiday weeks. And this, by the way, is a reason why Surge, I think, is such a interesting value proposition for anybody who does prop, because so many prop shops are obviously time based, right?
Hmm.
And very often, I mean, I would say every other month, you're going to come into this cycle of holiday based trading. And if you think about this, holiday based trading, especially if the holiday is midweek, there's just little liquidity the whole week. Like
Right.
we talked
Right.
last time we talked about this was Easter week. Remember how Kathy was just really complaining about the fact that there was just nothing on FX that was working because there was just zero liquidity, just no continuity whatsoever. So last past week was the same kind of a story where I think you really only had like Thursday, Friday to trade. Friday was obviously non-farm payrolls that had a push, and even that push was kind of minimal. We actually we live traded non-farm payrolls that had a great week. Had like a $900 on it. I'm going to put up a video
Nice.
on our channel so you guys can see exactly how we traded. But my point being is that I mean this is the great thing about Surge is that you don't have a gun to your head.
Right.
Don't trade when you don't have the opportunity. It's futile. And
Yeah, that comes with experience in your strategy. Far too many
right,
people want to get in. They're traders. When like you've said so many times, we're not traders. We're here to make money. And
right.
getting in there and taking a trade that might not be there or forcing it, you blow your audition.
You force trades all the time. I mean, I forced trades this morning and we barely got out break even, just mainly because because it's Monday. It was Monday.
Hmm.
There was nothing going on, and you just force trades because we all want to trade live. And again, I think that's a really really key point. You don't have to make the trades, and the one thing that's great about Surge, of course, is it doesn't force you to make trades, so you have
Right.
the time to make the right trades, which is a really huge advantage. People think only people who've traded for a long time appreciate that advantage.
Right.
Uh,
Absolutely.
you have
Absolutely.
to,
The,
you
the
have to learn,
master trader.
you have to learn that from the school of hard knocks, I think,
Hmm.
and even so, you constantly keep learning that lesson. But,
Right.
otherwise, markets are essentially kind of where we left them. I think the last time we left them, I called for higher oil, and we were in the 60s, right? So I think
Hmm.
that call really turned out to be quite good. I said, it was sort of, I like buying a dip. I didn't think it was going to be a runaway trade, but I really like buying a dip in that area. And,
Right. Range bound.
range bound, we're at 73s, so on and so forth. This week, as far as fundamental data goes, really the only uh, event of import is hump day is on Wednesday, which is the CPI data.
Hmm.
And I think what's happening is that this is where you could have some opportunity if the market is completely wrong. But I think the consensus come that inflationary pressures have really, really, really calmed down. I mean, one of the funniest tweets I saw today was somebody tweeted out that Samsung is going to have a 94% profit knockdown because there's such a glut of chips on the market that their whole chip business, which is Samsung is a huge chip
Right.
manufacturer, is just suffering. And I thought, wow, that is sort of like the ultimate disinflationary story. Because do we not remember it in 21 where everybody
Yeah.
said,
Right.
"Oh, there is this permanent chip shortage. We're going to have 10 years of chip shortage. We're so far behind. Nobody can produce chips fast enough. We're going to have this permanent inflationary pressure." It took a whopping 10 months for us to get complete glut. And I think that's the story. And I think this is the reason why I've never been an inflationista, because people continuously underestimate the power of technology to knock down costs and to increase production. And now you're going to see that, of course, with artificial intelligence and everything else. It's just, I think, if you're a believer in technology, you cannot be a believer in inflation, because it is such a negative disinflationary force all across the world, which is a great thing for all of us because it means more things for cheaper. That's
Right.
so, like,
Right.
this is why capitalism beats communism, right? Because we make more things for cheaper. That's really the whole point. And you want to encourage that. And that's technology. And I think that's why you don't really have, these big inflation pressures. So the bottom line is, market, I think, is very, very satiated. They don't see any inflation pressure. Matter of fact, I was shocked that on Friday the Fed funds futures rates had actually started to drop. I mean, I thought the non-farm payrolls was actually pretty healthy. The
Hmm.
average hourly rate was actually pretty high. Like, in other words, labor still has a lot of negotiating power as far as income goes. But the market was like, nah, none of this stuff is going to move the needle for the Fed. The Fed is probably going to not raise rates, which surprised me. So unless we have a shockingly hot number, we always can. That's always a possibility, but unlikely. I think that's all modestly, positive inflation numbers. Although at this point, it feels like quite a lot of this information has been factored into the equities. Equities are really at lofty highs, and
Right.
we're not at a point where we probably want to be taking profits, but certainly not a point where we're going to be chasing ideas here. You got to be
So
very,
we're waiting for more information at this point. So
yeah,
we've kind of turned a corner in your analysis, and we're
yeah.
sitting.
And I'm talking about from a positional point of view. It's not a place where I want to be long equities from a positional point of view, but from an intraday point of view, you certainly want to be buying dips. So it's still not a time to sell rips. So I think it's still relatively constructive, but we've obviously at such higher levels that so much of the information is factored in.
Right.
We can take a look at the charts if you want. If
Yeah,
you like.
absolutely.
Let me see if I can share my charts here. Screen.
I know you're a big fan of Trueflation. Have you been following it? Has it come down as well?
That's come down tremendously. I mean, and the problem is, I think, um, so the problem with Trueflation is people are just not taking it seriously. They feel like it's
Uh-huh.
really, oh my
It's too
goodness,
good to be true.
yeah, it's too good to be true. This is the huge version. Although it actually looks good. You know what? I'll keep this. This is for, like, what I call, this is the boomer version, the Kathy
Hmm.
maybe,
Uh-huh.
where all the all the signals font so that you don't have to strain your eyes. But what we can do is, let's just get off the equities for right now. Let me just clean this up. Just take off the labels for time being, and let's start with oil. Or oil, as we say, and we'll go to 4-hour chart. And as you can remember, if you guys, last time I left you pre-holiday, I said I really, I thought oil was definitely kind of a buy to dip trade, and unless it broke 60, it was a buy to dip trade, and we really held that. We held that quite well, right? All through the June area. We did test it a couple of times. You can see here, right? We tested it quite a lot, in the 67. And that was just,
Hmm.
I think, a natural. This was a perfect case of, excuse me, where fundamentals and technicals really fuse. You saw that Saudis were cutting production. You saw that global demand was actually starting to revive, and technicals were basically showing you we're kind of sold out here. So it was great. Anybody who followed that trade definitely had a very smooth sailing for 4 or 5 points. Have that having been
Right.
said, now, if we kind of zoom out to like a daily chart, there's this gap over here. I mean, I
Hmm.
think it has room to go to that 75, 80 level, and that's pretty much it. China still looks like it's kind of dead man walking as far as the economy goes. That's our marginal buyer.
Right.
India just bought everything it could out of Russia at this point. So, and U.S. shale, man, again, technology. Everybody always underestimates American ingenuity. I mean, we just keep pumping it out, and as long as we keep up, we're a super producer at this point. I mean, I'm completely convinced that in 2 or 3 years, we'll be literally the dominant. Like, we're sort of like, it's Saudi, us, and Russians. I think when we're gonna all of those guys because they don't know how to invest in technology. They don't have the latest ability. They don't have all these different sources. We're going to be the dominant source, which will be very good for the U.S. economy because we'll also obviously generate export off of our energies.
Right,
So
absolutely.
all
So
things.
you think that's 2 to 3 years out? You think we're a dominant oil player?
I do. I do
I
think
love
we're a
it.
player simply because of our our technological know-how and our ability to just extract oil out of thin air, which is and we still have like a huge amount of deposits all across our plains where we can extract it. And also, frankly, our oil demand is going to go down because remember we talked about the idea of EVs cutting into to the market. Tesla so far, but I think in 2 or 3 years you will have much greater EV penetration. There's already cars coming out with a 400 or 500 mile range. I
Hmm.
think that's like like there were. I think 1956 was the year when the air traffic was greater than the ship traffic to Europe, and that was the year when
Right, right. The changeover.
and the changeover. And I think like sort of when you get to that 400 mile mark on the electric car, in other words, you go 400 miles without having to even think about recharging. That's going to give a lot more peace of mind to people, and they're going to start converting because it's obviously cheaper and better and cleaner for everybody to do that. So
Right, right.
so
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 you're a big EV proponent. You love it.
I think it's natural. I mean, like
Hmm.
everybody. If you think about this, I bet you probably think in the back of your mind, maybe my next car should be EV. Maybe I'm driving a Mini, which I love. I always kid around that I love my Mini more than half the members of my own family because I just love that car so much. But like on the back of my mind, I'm thinking there's an EV version of Mini. It's obviously very small capacity, but maybe in 2 or 3 years they're going to get to 300-mile capacity, which is more than enough, for me to tool around New York City.
Sure.
Um, so I bet you're probably also thinking, oh, maybe my next car, the car after that is going to be EV. Or
Yeah,
you
I'll tell
still
you the truth. I see them. We walk by them in the parking lot, and I think, well, maybe I'll look at it. I'm not
yeah.
dying to, but like you said, 2 or 3 years. Who knows? It's a totally different story.
The one is like first you get the beginners, the but then as more people see, like the more you see the F-150, the F-150 looks awesome as an EV version, right? And then people go, oh my god, I can actually power my house with this car. Like all of those benefits start to begin to really
Right, right.
accrue. People get, oh, this because it's clearly a better technology. I mean, the bottom line is just a better technology. You never have to take your car to the shop. The only thing you ever got to replace is brakes and tires. It's like driving a computer. There's no moving parts. So,
Right.
and you don't have to fill up if you're living in a house. You literally charge up overnight. You're good to go. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do think it's
Interesting. I'm gonna send you down to the Tesla board and have
yeah,
you
yeah.
uh have you walked
Well,
the floor with the people?
Tesla's been my Don Quixote windmill. I've been, I managed to. I think Tesla is grossly overvalued. So
Hmm.
I've been selling call spreads against Tesla, which hurt me last week, and I was able to actually come out of a break even because eventually I sold them high enough. But Tesla is its own beast, to
Yeah, it
trade.
sure is.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure is.
But anyways, so oil is the one story. The other story is gold. We're very very all that, and it's a nowhere trade. It's really been so. It took out 1900, came back up. I mean, the only thing I can say that's good about gold is it held 1900, bounced back. That's
Hmm.
worthwhile to note, and we need to keep an eye on that. I think if it starts to tool back up about 1950, maybe it's a trade. But gold is I know there's a lot of people who love to trade gold, and you probably have a huge amount of traders who love gold, and maybe on an intraday basis it's good. I'll show you a couple of scalping
Hmm.
indicators that I created with ChatGPT that they may want to be using on gold, but other than that, I have no love of gold. You know me. Um,
I know you.
the other
Bitcoin and
thing
gold, right?
Right. The other thing that's interesting and that I got to pay respect to is Bitcoin, which really, is just holding quite impressively this $30,000 mark. And I've been talking to a lot of guys who are more crypto active than I am. Like I was talking to Austin Silver from Austin Silver FX,
Hmm.
and they were all. And I was talking to Francis Hunt, who's goes by Market Sniper, also a very big trader on YouTube. They were both saying that it's the fact that it's getting regulatory approval. If the whole idea is if Bitcoin becomes an ETF, right? It instantaneously opens the market to every grandpa and grandpa like me.
Right. Exactly.
The
Exactly.
old people who will never in their life buy a crypto wallet and have some hard storage on a hard drive, but be more than happy to maybe buy the Bitcoin ETF as part of their IRA portfolio. So once you kind of institutionalize that trade, it becomes a very legitimate asset. It certainly becomes a much
Right.
better asset than gold. You don't have to kill the environment. Well, you kill the environment for it, but in a different way. It's sort
Right.
of
Of course.
less damage. It's less damaging to mine electricity than it is to mine the earth for essentially a product that nobody really wants. I mean, I know gold does love us, but aside from jewelry, do we really need gold for anything? No. So yeah, I think Bitcoin becomes a much more interesting alternative as a safe harbor asset.
Interesting. What's your time frame on that?
Well, it's this year, right? I mean, they're talking about. I mean, the time frame is. I think if it becomes a securitized asset, like S&P 500, like
Hmm.
QQQ, like GOD, like think
Right.
about
Right. Of course. Yeah.
think about how popular gold became once it became a securitized asset, right? You didn't have to go to some gold broker who charged you $50 commission in and out. I mean, $50 per ounce,
Right.
commission, to trade it out. Now you're trading for a penny. Same, by the way, with Bitcoin. By the way, the greatest thing about Bitcoin becoming an ETF is those, $12, $15 spreads are going to go away.
Right.
We're going to go one wide, which is going to be amazing. It's a 30,000. It's going to be the Dow, the US 30 of trading. So, hopefully interest begets interest, securitization. That's the game plan. And, and if that happens, I'll probably get really interested. I mean, once it gets tighter on spreads, more liquidity and everybody starts chasing it up and down, becomes a really interesting play. And somebody else, who was I talking to? There was some Fed governor who said, listen, because the stock market is so similar to the futures market, it actually makes sense for us because the whole point is, can you find just like with S&P, can you find a really liquid offset so that market makers can make a great market and it doesn't become like a complete disaster. So for that reason, I think Bitcoin, of all of the things that we see right now, has the most promise.
Nice.
And obviously
Nice.
Ethereum is its cousin because they're both going to be
Right. Of course.
they're both going to be on chain and on ETF. But yeah, I mean those are interesting things. So so that's what's going on. That's what's going on in the assets. As far as FX goes, really, dollar yen is probably the most interesting story here because look at this is the daily, right? This is daily. I mean, what do you see here on the daily? You're just seeing a massive top, right?
Hmm.
And we're talking about the fact that the other thing I was talking about. I said, dollar yen 145. We want to start, start looking at it. Oh no, sorry, this is euro yen. I had the wrong trade, but the same. It's even sharper.
Yep.
It's even sharper in dollar yen. I'm sorry, my apologies. Remember, I said dollar yen 145 starts to crumble. That was like when I left you guys. At the beginning of like we were over here. I said dollar yen goes to 145. That's going to be a meaningful move. You want to trade it to the downside, and now we're doing nothing but declining, right?
Yeah. We sure
Big
are.
drop today. I mean, this is a big drop today. Dollar yen generally is just a great of all the currencies, the most liquid, the biggest movement per day. That's the currency you want to trade. Clearly now it's much more of a sell the rip than buy the
Hmm.
dip. It's showing quite a lot of decline, and there's a lot of fundamental reasons for it. U.S. yields may have peaked. The BOJ definitely doesn't want to see it go any higher because it's starting to cause unnecessary inflation in Japan. And they want to bring it down to 135 probably. So there's just there's a lot of reason for why you think why this could be a trade all the way down here with the relative ease. I mean basically every rally is a sell here. That's kind of you got to think about it. And only if we kind of take out the highs. Only if this is just there's something going on in the market that's so radically, shockingly different from what everybody's expecting. Do you change your mind? But
Right.
obviously from here to there, there's a lot of room here, so you have to be flexible in terms of size and trading. And you may have to take a couple of stops on your shorts, but I do think the dominant trade is the short.
Are you trading this, or are you just watching it?
Now, I trade dollar yen actually on a scalp basis, so this is actually a good good chance for us to show off my little scalp,
Yeah,
my
please.
little scalp routine. So, um, I was just looking back through my YouTube channel, which has been around forever, and like, I finally getting into creating YouTube content, because Kathy has been just yelling at me for forever. Um, um, and so I went back. My most popular video of all time was how to trade tops and bottoms, and it is like the most horrible visually video you could possibly imagine. It was like like 210, barely scratchy video, really really sharp, not sharp video. But the underlying trade in that video was using Bollinger Bands to scalp highs and lows of the day. And I was like, this is a good. I was like, I used to make so much money with that strategy when FX was trading. I was like, why am I not trading this? So I went back and I rewrote the whole strategy using ChatGPT, using TradingView. It made it much better. Made it much better. And this is kind of the version called the Bollinger Band fade strategy. And this is sort of a classic Bollinger Band strategy that sells highs, buys lows in extreme situations. But then we introduced a secondary element to it, which is, as you know, I'm a huge believer that there's no such thing as a perfect price, or there's one price. You just have a area of interest where you can
Sure.
trade, where you have a higher probability of success. Otherwise, if you're just going to rely on a single trade, you're almost doomed to fail. So we introduced that idea of like, let's trade this strategy 10 pips up, 10 pips down. So 10 target, 10's price. We get stopped out. We go back in at higher levels or lower levels. We do that like 3 or 4 times maximum. You obviously have to have you have to have an uncle point. The uncle point here is 4 times. But having that out, generally what happens is we resolve all our trades within 2 or 3 attempts, because we're always at a point of extreme externality, either on the high side or the sell side. So this was a sell earlier today, right? So this is dollar yen today. Let me make sure that this is correct. The 5-minute chart. It's a 5-minute chart. This is the correct. We trade this on a 5-minute chart. So you sold this over here. Oh, sorry. I'm not even looking at this. This is not dollar yen. This is a US 30, which we don't care. We don't look at it. No, this was the trade that I traded. And so, by the way, you see this indicator that I coded. It shows you the buy, shows you the big yellow candle. I don't know if you can see this. I can get bigger here. You see a candle. The little dot is your stop, and the little arrow is your target. So you can see, obviously, you're stopped out over here, right? So if you bought the first signal, which was 1:55 in the afternoon, in the morning, New York time, you bought it at 73, you got stopped out at 62, and then the algo waits until you get a green candle, right? So in this case, maybe you would have come in at 58, you would have gotten stopped out at 48. You would have come in at 44. You'd have gotten stopped out at 34. So it's three attempts. But by the 4th attempt, you came in here at 30. Totally got resolved for. Now, I happen to have been a little bit lucky. I woke up like at 3:30 in the morning. I saw, oh, this is a couple levels down. I'm just going to buy over here. I bought it. It took me only one trade to resolve this to the upside, right? Now, the thing about this is that it takes about 2 or 3 trades during the global day, so it's very, very selective in its position, positionality. Here's a trade that is just triggered for me in pound yen, which nearly came to target right now. So it was 81.58. The low was 81.50. Right, very, very small trade. It maybe still work. There was a trade here that triggered dollar CAD to the buy side, right? And you see what happens is this waits until the price, what's known as, walks the Bollinger Band. Band means the prices are so extended it just simply walks the outside Bollinger Band. That's trend move. That's a trend move. That's you want to, when somebody's walking the Bollinger Bands, it means it's having a trend. But the upside of that is that's when the trend usually breaks, because you can't sustain a walk standard deviations for too long. So we wait for that signal when it looks like a trend is breaking. In this case, over here, this was a super easy trade, right? I bought this over here in dollar Canada. This was a 70, 10.10, and just before we went on air, I bought this at 71. It took me 30 minutes. We got done at 81 right here. Boom, right here.
Nice.
This is the red arrow. There was one more trade. There was a euro trade I had. This was a euro trade. It was a sell. This just missed my target. And this is the thing, that if I'm close to my target, especially if I'm a level one, I'll take it. I'll take it as a trade. What else was on my? Um, what gave signals today? Dollar yen, euro dollar. Oh, euro dollar was a fade buy at 2030. This was a great trade actually too. So it'll give you usually 2 or 3 trades. Yeah, this was a euro dollar buy. Look at this trade. This was Asia session, extreme kind of walking the band, sort of like extreme oversold conditions. You came in here, zero retrace. I mean, you just had zero, 109.58. This is a 5-minute candle. Took about an hour. And remember, FX is going to take a long time. It's not like US 30 where I'm getting my trades done in 10, 20 minutes. It's going to take at least an hour or two, but it's fine. It totally resolves. And you think about this. So I made money in euro dollar. I made money in euro dollar on the short side. I made money in dollar yen. I made money in dollar CAD, right? That's 4 or 5 trades a day. You're trading $100,000 account. You make $400 a day towards a $10,000 target. It doesn't take long to reach your target.
Right, absolutely.
That's a very, very kind of a modest, one lot entry. You're coming in at one lot entry, so you're not exhausting your leverage and everything else. So it's all very cool. And of course, this is all.
This is just something you dug out of the archives.
I'm doing it out of the archives, but I'm improving it. I'm doing new and improved versions that are available, by the way, to anybody who wants to be a BK member. So come join us. Love to have you guys around. And people are I'm not even trading. I'm trading this on a casual basis, but you could literally make it into a full-on, really interesting 6 to 7 signals a day strategy, 24 hours a day, that could be very, very meaningful towards your Surge P&L, towards making P&L and Surge.
Right,
as
absolutely.
I said, you're trading 10 pips, incredibly controlled risk, really good entries, giving yourself multiple opportunities to succeed. It's super easy. And the thing is, it's all, it's very easy to configure. The whole thing is pre-configurable. So you press on here and just say, hey, sorry, let me go over here. If you go to TradingView, if you know anything about TradingView, just simply press on the 3 dots and you say, add the alert, and it will already preset the buy alert and the sell alert. You don't have to do anything but just simply click, oh, yeah, I want to buy signal, I want to sell signal. And then they all go into your alert box. And then whenever they go off, they just go like a little chirp. And you can say, oh, cool, I got a trade. I got a trade.
Nice.
And, I basically am running euro dollar, pound yen, dollar yen, and CAD, right? So that's 5 pairs. On a good day when we have lots of activity, sometimes I get 2 per pair. That's 10 signals a day. It's, more than enough to give you really good ideas and opportunities, And, I'm trading it like a grandpa with very small, if you want to gas it, you want to go for 1,000, you want to go 10 lots, be my guest.
Also, you said you woke up in the middle of the night, you saw it, gave you the signal, and you took it manually. So it's just giving you a trade idea.
Absolutely. And I take them. By the way, this is all manual. I take it all manually. I don't. This is one of those kind of things that's kind of really cool. You can just take it on your iPhone, which a lot of times I do, because it's just 10-10. It's not complicated.
Right.
If it goes against you, then you wait for for the next level where it's going to turn green if you're looking for buys, or red if you're looking for sells, and you go in again. Don't rush it. It'll work itself out. Give it 2 or 3 times. That's my whole point. My whole belief is that we live in a very probabilistic world in the markets, and I think people get very hung up on just, I got to make this one trade. Trade is just insane. I wrote an interesting column today. If you guys want to follow me on FX Flow, you can read that column, where I took our friend Jason Shapiro, who we talk about a lot on the show. He made a video. It's really, really interesting. He talked about the idea of that he never thinks that he's right. He just thinks this trade worked or this trade didn't work. And I thought that was an incredibly interesting mental model to work from.
It sure is.
Because if you move away from the idea of trying to be right or wrong and just try to get trades that work and trades that don't work, you take the ego out of it. You're like, look, this structure just didn't work. I'm trading reversals, and this thing is just a runaway train to the upside. Fine, I don't need to be right. It just didn't work, and I can walk away from it. And I thought that was a really interesting mental model. My column was 3 words that can change your trading forever. If you stop thinking about, if you change, substitute trade worked versus I was right, you'll have a much better, approach, I think.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Protecting your psychology. Sounds like that's
Yes.
a good step in that direction.
The
Of
most,
course,
it's
I hate
actually,
to take you off track, but you
yeah,
mentioned that you coded this with ChatGPT, and I know
yeah,
you have a big event coming up for
yeah.
traders. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, so I'm sure everybody at this point is familiar with ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, and there's
Sure.
literally 1,000 applications on the web, for various different things. I'm sure some people make videos with them, images with them, and everything else. But we thought, every year I do this event called Trader Fest, completely free. It's a global event, goes out to everywhere in the world. We broadcast it live. It's a global live stream event. This year it's going to be July 22nd. And all you have to go, you just go to thetraderfest.com. And, Corey is going to, Surge will be, I'm going to post it, and Surge is going to hopefully retweet
Yep.
me, and you guys can follow them. But, I'll be happy. And I'll put it in the Discord if you guys want. I'll put the link in the Discord. You can just sign up right now. We haven't even started kind of marketing it. We already have 1,000 people signed up. And we're going to, a lot of people, are going to be at the show. Like I mentioned, Austin Silver is going to be there. Trader Nick is going to be there. They're all going to share all of the latest AI tricks that they've learned and how they're applying them to their day-to-day trading. And I think it's going to be really fascinating, Plus the fact I got like the
on for AI and trading.
it's just it's a totally casual event. We just have a conversation. It's always, I have the best traders in the world, and all I do is just get them to reveal their secrets. They tell me their strategies, they tell me their tips, and we have a conversation. It's like I said, it's a live stream event. You don't if you sign up, you're going to get access to all the archives. So you don't even if you can't make it, don't worry about it. But you absolutely have to access to your archives and get all the information. So there's going to be we're going to give away a lot of free stuff. I have a whole bunch of like top 10 best trading books of my life that I as a free giveaway. Lots of interesting trader resources for forex traders that I'm going to give away. All of that stuff is going to be just as part of registration. So hopefully people will come in. But it's totally free. I've been doing this since 2017. It's kind of like my labor of love every year to set this up. And and I was going to say the final thing is I got the OG of systematic traders. Market wizard Tom Basso, who, if you've sort of ever read any of the Tom Market Wizard books, I mean, he's sort of like one of the great grandfathers, and he was kind enough to come in. I've had 3 Market Wizards on this show already, and him, I'm actually very, very excited about it because he's he really knows all the tricks, and he's been in this business in that part of the game for 30 years. So hopefully we'll have interesting stuff to talk about.
Awesome.
So,
exciting. Yeah, we'll definitely put the links in the description here. We'll put it on our socials as well. So
2 Saturdays away. So not this next Saturday, but the Saturday after that. So plenty of time to sign up, but definitely do it because it's it's going to be a fun event. TheTraderFest.com. That's it. www.thetraderfest.com, and you can sign up right now. Yeah, but yeah, we'll have the full page already, like within a day or two. So that's what's going on. I'm very, very excited about that. I'll be endlessly talking about it for the next 2 weeks.
Good. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear anything that opens trading up to people, particularly with the AI aspect of it. Makes it a little easier, makes it a little more inclusive. So it's super exciting.
I even posted like the strategies from last year's Trader Fest. There was all these great traders that I had there, like like Kevin Muir, and I had Chai Girl, who's everybody knows as Tracy Short. She trades oil. I mean, like these are people like 3, 4, 500,000 Twitter followers. These are really, really big fin Twitter. Barry Ritholtz, who of course everybody knows, from Ritholtz Management. So I had some really great people, and they all shared their own personal best ideas. And I actually on the registration page cut those like into like tiny little 2-minute videos of the most interesting stuff they have to say, and you can watch that for free too. Just get tips.
That's great.
There's this really interesting strategy that Jason gives away on how to trade intraday indices, like how to pick the turn. How do you pick the turn in intraday stock indices? And he just basically gives away the whole strategy, which is really awesome. So come register, watch it, enjoy it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Boris, thank you so much, and we will see you and Kathy next week.
Absolutely.
So have a great, productive week, and we'll see you soon. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Have fun with the Lambos there behind you.